Let's talk to Isabel Oakeshott, Talk's international editor. Isabel, very good morning to you.
Good morning. Well, are you cheered up by the second deportation of the week? I mean, I worked out that at this rate, it will take 167 years to remove everyone that's arrived since they announced the policy. If we go at one a week, it's 167 years. If we go at two a week, well, obviously it will be a few less years than that. But
Yes.
still, all these people are
somebody
going to
also
carry on coming in.
I know somebody else has given me if you want to deport all the people that have come since Starmer's been Prime Minister is 967 years.
It's beginning to sound like the length on people's leases on their properties,
Yes.
isn't it? You know, when the whole planet is basically over, if Ed Miliband is to be believed.
Yes, exactly right. Well, you have to know how low the bar now is, where you've got people on Labour coming out this morning saying how well Keir Starmer did basically not to get his backside handed to him by Donald Trump and to have escaped relatively unscathed from a press conference because nobody really got to him about Peter Mandelson, and how brilliant it is that we've started to show that this business of deporting people works because we've got two people out. I mean, I don't think the bar can get any lower, can it?
It is genuinely really embarrassing, isn't it? I mean, the scale of what's been achieved this week for ministers like Peter Kyle to go on the news round saying that they've got a policy that's working. God, the policy isn't working at all, and it will be fascinating to see how many arrive on Saturday from France. Because unless it's exactly equal to what we've deported, then clearly the policy isn't working, because all that's happened is that scheme has created a new legal route. And in a sense, it's even worse because the ones that are coming to us have some kind of pre-approval, which means that in no time at all, they're going to be bringing their dependents.
Exactly. And also, they won't be leaving. You know, it's not like they're coming here.
Exactly.
It's almost they've been given a sort of pre-approval. It's almost like, the old standby system on planes. You know, you've been given the seat. You've got the seat. You're going to your destination. No questions asked.
Is actually worse. I mean, at least if you let them continue to flow, there's a chance that technically you might be able to deport them.
Yeah.
It was never a solution anyway, because all it does is maintain or purport to maintain the status quo, one in, one out, just keep things as they are. And we've got a massive, massive backlog of people who shouldn't be here at all. So it's a complete fiasco. There's no way that the government is going to be able to spin this into a success. I mean, if you've ever tried explaining one in, one out to anyone that's not in the political world, you just start laughing as you're saying it, because it sounds so ridiculous. And you can up until fairly recently, Downing Street would, under all administrations, spend quite a lot of resources polling wacky policy ideas. You know, they would do a little private focus groups and test things out. I just can't imagine that anyone tested this policy out on anyone.
And also, as the week's gone by, we've discovered little bits of legislation, shall we say, or parts of the agreement which make it even worse. For example, we are paying for the people who are coming here on Saturday. We're paying their airline tickets as well as accepting them into our country. The French are not paying that. We're also paying for the two that we're sending back to stay in a hotel in Paris. Just on the sort of outskirts of Paris, which is not as nice as being right in the centre, of course, near Notre Dame, but, sorry about that. But we're paying for the hotels to put them up in. We're paying for the flights for people to come in. We're paying for the flights for people to go out. I mean, who's negotiating? Coco the Clown for Britain.
I mean, it's just like some kind of really warped Rwanda scheme, only way worse. And I discovered yesterday, I was writing an article about Shabana Mahmood, our supposed hard-as-nails new secretary, and actually her background as a lawyer is not, surprisingly, it's not in human rights. Her background is in indemnity law, so basically in seeking guarantees and compensation. And wouldn't it be nice if she could use a bit of that expertise to get some guarantees from the French that if they let down the side of the bargain, we might actually get some of our money back. But at the moment, it's just all going in one direction, isn't it? And any decent lawyer would have written the contract with some slightly tighter clauses that made sure that we weren't completely shafted.
Well, you would have thought so. I mean, it's now got to the point where, we're going to talk to Reform UK's candidate for Epping, Orla Minahan, in a little while after you, because there's been a big stramash in Epping overnight because there's been yet another migrant discovered from the Bell Hotel wandering around in and out of schools being found in people's gardens, keeps getting arrested by
Oh
the
my
police,
gosh.
keeps getting
Yeah.
bailed. You know, he's clearly a bad guy. He's also supposedly wanted for car theft. But, you know, he's living in the Bell Hotel, and the parents are going, you know, we can't have this. This guy's wandering about freely. It's not going to be any length of time until he commits some kind of terrible crime. Meanwhile, there's another guy from Somalia in the same Bell Hotel who sent a message of congratulations and thanks to Keir Starmer because he's now got permission to stay in the country.
I would say Keir Starmer needs that publicity like a shot in the head, doesn't he? I mean, it's the last thing he needs is the praise and encouragement from grateful recipients of his generosity to
Right.
everybody in other parts of the world. I mean, what a total fiasco, and I just struggle to imagine any other country really that would tolerate this. You know, people that come over and then not only have they broken the law in coming across the channel in the first place, then they behave in other antisocial ways at best, or even commit more crimes, and yet they're still allowed to just roam free. And
Well,
this is the other thing about the ones that we're deporting to France and putting up in a nice hotel in Paris. They're actually free to come back to the UK. I mean, they can just try again. And statistically, if they actually ultimately want to be in the UK rather than in France, which I can imagine they might well do, the numbers are on their side if they make another attempt to get here.
Yeah, totally. Let me just give you a few more details on this Somalian. Kadar Mohammed is his name, and he says he's 24 years old. He came from Somalia on a small boat, and he thinks many, many more will follow him. He said he believes the plan for a one-in, one-out scheme with France to crack down on boat crossings, even he says, is doomed to failure, right? He's talking to Daily Mail. He said, I've been told in the last 2 weeks that I've won my right to stay. I've been granted leave on human rights grounds. I leave the hotel in the middle of October, and I'm moving to Bradford. And I can only assume that means they're giving him a house in Bradford.
Oh my gosh. I mean, just absolutely outrageous. And, you know, Trump always says it as it is, doesn't he? And yesterday he just sort of put it quite simply to Starmer, you know, you need to use the military.
Yeah.
You need to use whatever it takes. You know, he's shown that it is possible to turn something like this around. He's done so in America. He said, I just couldn't stand by and watch this, what was happening with total mass uncontrolled immigration in America, and talked about how it destroys countries from within. And that is exactly what we're observing in Britain. And yet all our ministers do really is stand by and watch it, with the odd symbolic gesture of one or two people being removed after a massive fuss. And the cost of each of those removals will be absolutely off the chart when you consider all the lawyers that will be involved.
Of course, and we don't even yet know, because the government is being very sort of, shall we say, close-lipped about how the whole deal was discovered, because they haven't really told us yet how they detain people. We don't even know why the 100 people who have been detained since they arrived on August the 6th have been detained. We don't know what the criteria is for that. We also don't know whether they might have given some money to these two characters to go home. Or to go back to France. And why we're deporting this Indian character when we could have just deported him back to India? Why are we sending him back to India via France?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, you know, there's a dozen questions, aren't there? And I think you and I have talked before. Why do they have to be flown back? You know, what about just putting them in a basic boat? You know, we could do quite a lot at a time in a boat, and maybe leave them at the halfway line, give the French a taste of their own medicine. Maybe French rescue services can, since this is all pre-agreed, you know, we can only just cover the cost of getting them halfway.
Exactly.
And then the French can come and rescue them like we do the whole time.
Yeah.
What a joke.
I know. Total joke. Now, there's more than one joke, of course, going on at the moment, and we spoke the other day about a story you uncovered about the London Fire Brigade and the flag situation, because this has been a huge story, not least last weekend when there was a massive protest in London with so many people at it that everybody started lying about how many there were. But the business of putting flags up and taking them down in this country is still a real problem. I've seen loads and loads of videos recently of people putting flags up and having rows with other people who try to take them down on the grounds that they're obviously symbols of racism. Tell us about this situation at Barking Fire Station.
Yeah, so at 10:53 on Wednesday this week, somebody made a 999 call and asked for the fire brigade. And the supposed emergency, was that they had just walked past Barking Fire Station and glimpsed inside the fire station the sight of a Union Jack. And they considered this such an outrage and such a crisis that they saw fit to ring 999 and say that this flag must be taken down. Now, you might like to think in a talk radio world where common sense rules, they would not have been given remotely the time of day for that absolutely ridiculous request or demand, and they should also have been reprimanded for a scandalous abuse of the emergency services. But no, what happened was that the call then got triaged to the relevant fire station. The watchman or woman in charge at that fire station said, yeah, I'm having none of that. You know, the flag is going to stay up, and got overruled by the borough commander, and the flag had to come down. I just think this says it all, doesn't it, on so many levels. What kind of person rings 999 to demand the removal of our national flag? And what kind of public emergency service indulges that nonsense? Is appalling.
It is insane. And the London Fire Brigade gave the reason as to why the flag had to be removed was because their policy is that if you have a flagpole at London fire stations, you must only fly the fire brigade's crested flag. You must not fly any other flag, and you can only fly the Union flag at the brigade's HQ in Southwark, which is so ridiculously kind of Jobsworth-like. You just go, what's wrong with you? You know, how can it be wrong to fly the flag of the nation?
I mean, I don't imagine it was like some gigantic billowing thing anyway.
No.
I think it's just quite a small flag that people have put up there to feel united by our common identity.
Yeah.
But no, that's not allowed. And I'm sure this is, variations of this, as you say, are going on up and down the country. I personally have found the whole flag thing really quite heartening.
Yeah.
And loved seeing the pictures of that march last week. We might not have approved of the organisers of the march, but I certainly think we can approve of people coming out and marching for their country in a peaceful and cheery fashion. And it was interesting to see earlier this week, it came out that out of the very, very small number of arrests, which is something like 25, I think, the majority of those of those who were arrested were not actually from the United Kingdom march. They were the far left provocateurs.
Yes, isn't that interesting? And who always get bussed into the same places, and it's always the same people. Because whenever you see whoever they are demonstrating against, it's always the same mob. It's the same renter mob. And there's some suggestion. I mean, you may want to look into this as part of your brief as chief investigator. That there's an outfit that's paying them to actually go and protest, because they get shipped around the country. Because the same people that were seen in Epping were also seen outside the Canary Wharf hotel as well. There's a lot of that sort of stuff going on.
That's really interesting, and that actually wouldn't surprise me at all. It's one of those things, if you don't understand something, follow the money. And who are these people that have got so little to do, have so little care about earning their normal keep, that they're able to be popping up in all these different parts of the country? Just so happens that they all look rather similar, and they seem to be on top of exactly where the latest hotspot is for them to demonstrate their views and basically stir up trouble. Will Keir Starmer be calling them far left thugs? Not holding my breath on that one.
Probably not. No, probably not. He's still too busy, hiding in the bottom of Downing Street, thinking that, if he stays down there long enough, everything will go away and he'll be fine. We shall see. Isabel, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Isabel Oakeshott, Talks International editor there.